Everything's great here in Concord, North Carolina at the MW Taproom. Just ordered me some pretzel sticks, got a cold beer, ready to talk a little NASCAR. Just hang out and enjoy some good company. I appreciate you, Bryan, and everything you do for the brewing company. And we're making some tracks. Everything's going really well. This restaurant in Concord has been really well received, and our flagship property up in Bristol, Virginia, is a place that's near and dear to my heart. It's beautiful, historic old building right in downtown Bristol, Virginia. Bristol's a racetrack that I've had a lot of fun at over the years, and now I have a bar there that I'm going to have a lot of fun at over the next year. So appreciate tonight. Thanks for having me on, and looking forward to talking a little NASCAR, beer, and fun.
Hey, Bryan, we're not able to hear you. Can you check your audio, please?
Oh, there we go. Sorry about that, guys. So anyway, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. We are here in Concord at the Michael Waltrip Taproom, as Michael mentioned. And if your travels bring you down to the greater Charlotte area to a race at Charlotte Motor Speedway, or you're just traveling in the area, please stop on by. They'll take good care of you here. Later in the show, we are going to have beer expert Aaron Gore joining us to talk a little bit of beer and some interesting news that's been happening in the beer world. And of course, we've got Michael and I have some big news about Michael Waltrip Brewing that's coming up. But first, let's talk a little bit of racing. Michael, I know you were out at Chicago. Of course, that was all the talk of NASCAR was the street race in the Windy City. You were there to take it all in. What were your impressions?
It was amazing. It was something that we just really needed in our sport, something that was really fun and different and new and cool. And it was very well received. I was there in town with my daughter Macy, and we were wandering all over Chicago and just checking out the track, but mainly talking to the fans and also talking to the drivers about what they were feeling, what they were seeing. I went up to Eric Almirola. I said, you ever find yourself going down the straightaway at 150 miles an hour and look up and say, wow, look at those buildings. Whoa, I better pay attention to what I'm doing. And he said, man, it's very tempting to look around and see what all people are seeing, but you got to stay focused. And that's what the drivers were doing. The weather was unfortunate, obviously, but we worked our way through it and put on a heck of a show. So I bet you we'll be back in Chicago next year. And who knows where we might go street racing. I know they have a really fun street event for the Indy cars down in Tampa St. Pete. I think that'd be cool for NASCAR to go there. We'll see what happens. I can't hear you.
Okay, there we go. All right, a little technical difficulty here, but I think we're working through it. Just like in Chicago, they had some difficulties with the weather, but it didn't seem, at least I was watching on TV, it didn't seem to dampen the enthusiasm of the crowd. It just seemed like the energy in Chicago was sky high.
100%. And that's 100% what I felt and Macy felt. She was so happy to see all those race fans smiling and having a great time at the racetrack. And by the way, the racetrack was on Michigan Avenue. He went to the University of Michigan for college, and so they made a few road trips over to Chicago during her 4 years at Michigan, and she was able to visit some of her old friends and see some of the places where she had maybe had a cold beer or two during her 4 years there. Hopefully, just the last 2 years, I hope, or whatever that adds up to be. But the track was so cool. Just seeing the cars bouncing down the straightaways and the tight turns, and Jensen Button, Formula One champion, is like, I've never been on a track with zero runoff. Like, you couldn't go anywhere other than into the wall or on the track. And I think it made it a lot of fun. And at the end of the day, SDG, Shane Van Gissenberg, did I say that right? I think I'm close. He got the victory, which is the first time in 60 years a guy had won his first start in NASCAR Cup racing, which is amazing. So another great story for 2023. The season's been full of those. Started off with a huge Daytona 500, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. getting the win there. But then, going to North Wilkesboro, the return to that racetrack and the action we've seen, the different winners, not being able to find a clear-cut favorite early in the season of who might be the next NASCAR champion, who's going to be the champion in 2023. I can't pick a guy right now because it's just been so competitive and so many different winners and different storylines as we've raced through the first half of the season. I can't hear you.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, what was amazing, I think, with, the quote unquote ringer, finally breaking through and winning at Chicago was an incredible story. We've seen that play out so many times, whether it's at Watkins Glen or at Sonoma, where, somebody that's a road course, expert, or somebody that has credentials from another series comes to try to take on the NASCAR Cup regulars and, has not been able to break through in so many years, as you say. What do you think the difference was this time that really set the stage for him to capture the checkered flag?
Well, the supercars that he drives over in Australia and New Zealand, they're similar, I guess, to a Cup car. But the thing that's most amazing about that, he sits on the wrong side. He races that supercar sitting on the right side of and he races street races, obviously a very accomplished road racer, but being able to shift with his left hand and drive from that side and then get in the car, get on the other side and figure all that out. It was really interesting that he adapted and put himself in a position to win that race. I know Denny Hamlin was really proud that he and Tyler Reddick were able to grab the front row, and Shane didn't take that. And they thought maybe they had him, covered when we got ready to go racing. But obviously, at the end of the day, he got the checker flag. So what a great story and what a great job. And I talked to a couple of the drivers, and they said he's just a genuinely great guy. Somebody they really were happy that he came and raced with us. And I guess they want him to come back, but he won, so maybe they don't. But anyway, it was really fun having his personality and seeing his talent behind the wheel displayed in the NASCAR world.
Now, I think you were saying earlier in your career, you did a street race, didn't you?
Yeah, I was out in Iowa and ran an ARCA race. I think it was 93 or so. And a buddy of mine sent me some pictures, Charles Perrault. He sent me pictures of me going through the streets of Des Moines. And so those were fun memories. And it's funny, it's been whatever it's been, 20 some years. My ear fell out. I have another one now. It's been 20 some years since we raced on the street. Crazy, maybe even 30 years that it finally came around. But I'm telling you, Brian, with what we saw at Chicago and the way people walk, and not only fans, but race car drivers. Macy and I were in the pits on Saturday and walking up to driver after driver, and they're just so happy and smiling about what it feels like to be out there on the streets of Chicago. Got to give a big tip of the hat to NASCAR for taking that chance. Julie Giese and Cara Bachman from Chicago, who was instrumental in bringing it all together. Mike Helton, Jim France were there. Everything that the NASCAR world did to make that event happen, first of all. And there were certainly a lot of doubters about how it might go down. And walking that racetrack on Saturday morning, seeing the groove, I didn't join the group of doubters, but I thought this is going to be, and there was one word that most every individual that's inside the sport used to describe what was going to happen. Oh, it's going to be interesting. You heard interesting over and over again, and it certainly was.
Now, at any point, were you getting the itch going, hey, that looks like fun, man. I think maybe I'd like to go out there and give it a whirl.
I wonder if my right ear is smaller than my left because this one's fine and that one keeps falling out. I'm going to try to go solo here. No, I've learned, you know, it's a young man's game and you've got to be up to date and very, very dialed in. And there's a whole lot of simulation. There's a whole lot of homework that goes into racing one of those cars. So I admired from afar. Now, I did tell a couple people that if nobody was looking and I could get one of those cars out there on that Chicago street course and run a couple of laps, it looked like a blast. And I just did FS1 NASCAR Race Hub with Eric Amarola. And he said, yes, that's what it was. It was a lot of fun.
Well, cool. I guess, you know, by all accounts, you know, setting the weather aside and some of the other, you know, glitches that you have at any kind of first year event that you have to deal with. Overall, it sounds like, you know, we're giving that weekend an A and a thumbs up, or, you know, all kudos all around.
100%. Everybody loved what they saw. And I think we'll go back. And I think that's great. You know what's fun? Being able to leave the racetrack and walk across the street and go into a restaurant or my room on Michigan Avenue. I can only see about 100 yards of the track, but I can see the cars go by from my hotel room. That was really fun. And just the folks that started just piling in thousands after that race finally got started. You know, a lot of people weren't there yet. I mean, it looked like at 4 o'clock it wasn't going to be a race. And as 5 o'clock came and 6 o'clock came, there's just tons of people coming to check it out. And all of them had a great time. So I'm really happy that I was there. I didn't go for any reason other than to be a race fan. And walking around the streets and seeing the other race fans, saying hi and wanting to have a picture made. And then just being there for the festivities. It's something that's really cool that I got to do.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, what a big weekend for the industry. And you know, as that is now wrapping up, everyone's attention is turning to this coming weekend. Atlanta Motor Speedway is on the docket. Completely different environment than the Chicago street race. Of course, last year, I think Chase Elliott and Ross Chastain finished 1-2. You know, talk a little bit about, you know, what you're looking forward to at Atlanta. How do you think things are going to play out, and just how wildly different, you know, the racing will be from what we saw this past weekend in Chicago?
Yeah, Corey LaJoie almost won that race. He was trying to make a move on Chase Elliott on the last lap, and they got together. And that's what I think this season has been. That one race last year, this year has certainly been multiplied. And the word is unpredictability. You just don't know who's going to win. You don't know who's going to be the next surprise winner. We kicked off the season with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. getting that win in the 500, and ever since then, there's been, you know, you thought at one point William Byron was going to be the dominant driver, and then Kyle Larson, but there just hasn't been a guy that you're going to say will go out and be the favorite to win this race this weekend. I would put Chase Elliott as my favorite, who won a year ago. That team is solid. Hendrick is good everywhere they go. So he would be on the list. But then how diverse would the list be? I'm looking at Michael McDowell, Daytona 500 champion, had a great season. He's been very consistent week in and week out. So that just tells you the different, how broad the spectrum is of folks that can get the job done. Last year at Atlanta, Chevrolet swept both races with William getting the first one and Chase the second. And Joey Logano won in a Ford in the spring, just the 5th race of the season. He got to victory lane at Atlanta. I thought it was really cool. We were doing the hub show today, and Mike Joyce did the call of the race. And Joey led a lot of the race, and he was dominant. But as they come off turn 4, Mike said, Joey Logano dominates and wins Atlanta. He won by half a car length. I mean, that's how close things are at the new Atlanta. And the weather is going to be interesting because it's going to be hot. The track's been sitting in the Georgia sun. It had a harsh winter on it this past winter season. That gives up grip. So what does the track do for these competitors? Are they able to run just flat out wide open and race it like a super speedway race? Or might it be more of a handling game where you really got to be technical about how you attack the race, how you set up your car, what your strategy, what your philosophy is for the setup of the car. All those are questions that simulation tries to tell you what the answers to those questions are, but certainly it's as I said, unpredictable to say the least. Quickly, Bryan, while talking about unpredictability, I tell you something that is predictable. These pretzel sticks at the tap room, I get them every time I come here. They are magnificent. Our food at the Michael Waltrip Taproom, it's just the best bar food, cheeseburgers, chicken wings that I've ever had. And I know I'm biased, and people are like, "Yeah, right, Mike." But Ken McAllister and the folks with Elevatus that partnered with us on this project, I just can't say enough about how good our stuff is. So it makes me proud to send folks here. So I can say, I know you're going to get a good meal and you got great beer, but get the pretzel stick.
Well, I can't agree with you more. I mean, the pretzels are great, food's great, beer's great. No reason you shouldn't come to the Michael Waltrip Taproom either here in Concord or up at the OG in Bristol. You're going to have a great time either location. Well, looking ahead, we just talked about Atlanta on the Cup Series. Of course, everybody knows when you tune in to see NASCAR Truck Series racing, they're going to see you in the booth calling the race. I always look forward to that. And on the horizon this weekend for the NASCAR Truck Series is also a road course. And so the series will go to Mid-Ohio. Last year, Parker Klingerman won the race. Top four rounded out Zane Smith, Carson Hosever, and our friend Stuart Friesen, who you just raced against at the tap room in Bristol. We'll talk about that in a second. But before we do, give us a little preview of what we expect this weekend at Mid-Ohio for the Truck Series.
Well, we got a couple of guys coming in from different series again this weekend. Marco Andretti, an IndyCar racer who has a lot of laps at Mid-Ohio. He's going to run the 7 truck, which is one before. That's a really good race truck for Spire Motorsport. So I'm looking forward. I raced SRX last season with Marco last couple of seasons. I'm looking forward to watching him get this opportunity in a really good truck at Mid-Ohio. You often put him up on the near the top of the favorites. Stewart had a great run there last year. I love the spirit. I love how he gets out of his truck on a Saturday afternoon on a road course in Ohio, and will get on a plane and get to some dirt track in upstate New York to run his modified up there. So he's all in when it comes to racing. He races more, I'd say more races a year than anybody in NASCAR. It's just what he does constantly. Kyle Larson might be a close second, but I think Stewart probably would get that title. And then Connor Daly, another IndyCar driver that was tabbed to step in last week at Mid-Ohio when Simon Pasno had that crazy crash. Connor's going to be able to run the 41 truck, which set on the outside pole at Nashville and finished in the top 5 with Bailey Curry. So I almost called Bailey Curry Bailey Zimmerman, because when I was coming here, I was listening to a song by Bailey Zimmerman. But I'm glad I'm being professional and got my shit together. So it'll be interesting. You talked about last year how the finish went down and Figgerman got the win, but he and Zane Smith, they were glued together the last half of that race, battling side by side. Very, very good racing, very competitive, and nobody knocked anybody out of the way. It was really a fun race to watch. So Zane got the win at COTA, and so we know he's got what it takes to win at Mid-Ohio. Those are just some of the fun stories. I've always been a big Carson Hosevar fan because he's taller than me, so we kind of have that in common. And he got his first breakthrough win at Texas earlier this season, won again at Nashville. He is a guy that he'll be right there as well. So if you love racing and you haven't tuned into a truck race, FS1 this Saturday afternoon where we'll be, and it'll be fun, I promise you.
Yeah, totally agree. And for those that are joining us live tonight, just want to point out you can send in some questions on the Q&A button. So fire away for Michael or myself. I'd be happy to answer questions as we go. We did talk a little bit about Stuart Friesen. Of course, you know, at the last Bristol weekend, he challenged you to a drag race on lawnmowers in front of the Michael Waltrip Brewing Company brewery right there in downtown Bristol. It was a heck of a night. Was that the first time you've raced lawnmowers before?
No, I think I raced a lawnmower before, but that's the most powerful lawnmower I ever raced. I pulled a wheelie off the start finish line. That thing was up in the air. And we had a really tight battle all the way to the checkered flag, and I was able just to edge him out and get the win. And we got done racing and had some celebratory beers afterwards. And Stuart is he's my kind of guy, just a hard racer, loves what he gets to do, really thankful for the opportunities. And it was fun to be able to have that race with him and then be able to laugh and joke about it afterwards in the bar.
Now, do you think there's going to be a rematch at any point?
I will tell you, I was a little nervous. That Ferris mower, that thing's got a lot of power and it's very sensitive with it. Like you can spin it around on a dime. So I was proud of my effort. I was proud that I was able to get the win and adapt to a lawnmower. And really appreciate Ferris Mowers coming out to Waltrip Brewing and having a lot of fun with those beautiful, fancy lawnmowers. My neighbor actually called me when he saw that, and he said, "I want to buy a lawnmower." And I said, "Well, I'll get you a deal on one if I can borrow it. You know, you buy it and I'll use it." So we're working on a deal to get us a lawnmower.
Yeah, that sounds like a good deal. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the beer company in just a minute, but before we do, I can't let us move off the topic of NASCAR without talking a little bit about how the season is gone. We're basically at the halfway point now, and who's been your surprises in this first half of the season? Who's running better maybe than you thought they would have, and maybe who's lagging behind somebody that you thought would be performing at a higher level than they are up to now?
Well, there's the losing streak that Martin Truex Jr. broke, and the wins he's had. He's probably been everybody knows he's a champion and how good he is. So no one's surprised he's winning, but it had been a while, and so to put that behind him, and the same way with Blaney, that win at Blaney's at the 600, that might have been one of the most impressive runs of the whole year because, quite frankly, the horses haven't been that good, and they would not have been on the short list of favorites when they came to the 600, and he had to execute over and over on restart after restart to get that victory. So that was a really impressive performance, maybe the most impressive of the year. I'm a big fan of Corey LaJoie's, and he keeps on grinding out top 20 finishes. He got the opportunity to drive Chase's car, and it didn't go good. He ran into the wall in qualifying and just didn't perform anywhere near like what we expected. But then he bounces back, gets in his number 7 car, and is very competitive and very, very fast. Obviously, having Alex Bowman and Chase Elliott miss races, that was a bit of a surprise, and now both of them in maybe a must situation. They certainly need to win just to build that confidence and momentum going towards the playoffs. And I guess overall, the disappointing side of it would have to be Stuart Pye, because there's no way to hide from it. They just haven't run like we expect them to. So like I said earlier, Logano got the win at Atlanta earlier in the season, and we'll see how the Fords fare there. But so far, you got to give a whole lot of credit to Gibbs, a whole lot of credit to Hendrick, and Kyle Busch doing Kyle Busch things at RCR. 3 wins. It's just been a great season for Kyle.
Do you think it's likely, as you look ahead to the championship, that our Cup Series champion is going to come out of that group there that's running well here this first half?
Yeah, I think you'd put Hendrick and Gibbs at the top, and I wouldn't be able to pick between the two. But there's a lot of other teams that have some work to do.
Absolutely. Well, let's switch gears a little bit, Michael. We often get asked about, Michael Waltrip Brewing. And of course, we're here tonight in the Michael Waltrip tap room and drinking Michael Waltrip Brewing beers. And people always want to know, how did this craziness get started? And I seem to remember we were out in the Napa Valley for the Sonoma race, and we got to talking about, we always joke about we didn't know enough to know we shouldn't do this, and here we are, we got started. But it doesn't seem like it was that long ago, and we were talking about starting a beer company, and here we are. And some of these pictures on the screen are fun from the announcement in Bristol when we were coming just a little over a year and a half ago, to where now we've got 2 tap rooms, and we're brewing beer and we're shipping beer. So it's been a fun ride so far.
It has, and I've loved seeing the growth and the idea we had basically on a bar napkin out in Sonoma, to where we transitioned from Arizona, where we originally put our feet down, to Bristol, Virginia. A friend of mine, Jim Bunn, he's a coal miner from that area of the country, and he had a building, and he said, you guys need to move into our building. And it was upfitted with beer equipment. And we decided that sounded like a lot of fun. And so coming up on 2 years later, Bristol is doing well. We're making a lot of great beer there and selling a lot of beer. And then we partnered with Ken here, just outside the Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's like a mile and a half down the road. And we have Michael Waltrip Taproom, which we make beer in Bristol and drive it down the road and put it on the tap here in Concord. And when we were here for the Coke 600 a month or so ago, we just had a great time. A lot of people enjoying our food and beer. Our cheeseburgers are Wagyu beef burgers. They're very quality, very meaty, juicy hamburgers. Our wings are plump, also juicy, crispy. And of course, I've already talked about the pretzel sticks. You've got to come try those. So it's just a lot of fun having quality food, quality beer, knowing that your name's on the building. You want people to come in and say, Michael's got a good beer. And I've heard that a lot, and that makes me really proud.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And speaking of beer, this next slide, is really a fun one, because it certainly captures a moment in time when we first, started just getting things going with Michael Waltrip Brewing Company. We went to Denver, if you recall, to meet with our very first brewmaster about this idea of making a beer, and that became Two-Time Blonde, which was our very first beer. And I think when that came through, we gave us the confidence that, hey, maybe we could do this. What do you remember about that first trip and about that taste of that first beer, that Two-Time Blonde?
It just was a collaboration between you and Glenn and I, our third partner in the business, of what we liked. And, our job was to go to Denver. We have a buddy that's a brewmaster. He said, if you want to make a good beer, go to Denver, make a trip, set aside 2 days to go from microbrewery to pub to microbrewery and taste beers. Try what they have. Write down the notes of what you like. How was the smell, the aroma? How was the first taste on your tongue? Those were the things that we had to feel and live and see what made us happy. And we would drink pilsners, and we would drink blonde ales that you mentioned, porters, stout. We drink it all, and you would take notes, and you did a great job of taking notes, for the most of the day. At the end of the day, the notes got a little blurry, but we came out of there with those notes and that experience, and went back to our buddy and said, these are the things we like, and these are the things we didn't like. And we came up with some recipes, some thoughts about, coconut flavored beer, if you will. How much alcohol do we have in our blonde ale? What's the nose like on our tangerine ale? All those are questions that I quite frankly didn't know a lot about. I grew up in Kentucky. We drank a lot of Miller Lite. We didn't know much about the fancy beer where I grew up, and so I appreciated craft beers, and I've certainly had some over the years prior to the last four that we've been on this beer making journey. But I really didn't fall in love with any of them, and so craft beers are fancy beers to me, the Miller Lite guy, and I wanted to be somewhere between the fancy, hoppy, crazy beers and a Miller Lite. And I think there's a lot of room right in that area for people to try our beer and enjoy our beer because of the fact that it's just somewhere in between the two.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Michael. And of course, this lineup of beers that we're showing today is going to be changing, and we're excited about that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But one beer that's going to stay in our lineup is a really fun one, and you touched on it. It's our Tangerine Ale, Bristol Sunshine. And that one has just been making fans everywhere we go with that. And you've certainly seen it. You've gone to Florida, and when we were down there, you visited Publix. We had a tap takeover at the grocery store there, and that was the first beer that sold out. And so that one has turned into a real hit. We're excited about that. Our Southern Lager 15 is also a favorite. We've got some new ones coming, and we're going to share some news about that shortly. We've got a real big one. So I'm going to tease this for the next episode because we'll probably unveil what we've got up our sleeves. But it's just been a blast, making these beers and seeing the reaction that we're getting from so many fans of obviously of your racing career, but now of our beer making. And so it's just been really awesome to see how that all has taken place over the last year and a half or so. And looking down the road in terms of distribution, we've got Aaron Gore who will be coming up with us. This next slide we can talk about that, Colin. We've got Aaron Gore coming up to talk about distribution, and this, I think, and I'd love to get your take on it. This is one of those moments where it's just been incredibly gratifying to see something that, as you said, we started on a napkin. Literally, this was an idea. We'd never even made beer before. To where we're getting traction with some really great retailers. Our geographic footprint is starting to grow pretty dramatically, and people are going to be able to get our beer in all parts of the country. And to be able to see that happening, to me, it sometimes I have to pinch myself. I mean, I can't believe what's happening. It's just been really exciting to see the reaction that we're getting.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And the cool thing about distributing and let me back up. The fun thing about, being Michael Waltrip race car driver or whatever I am, I have a few followers on Twitter and Instagram and such. And everybody's like, where do we get your beers? Well, it's in a very small footprint where we could distribute to. And we're getting ready to really grow that so that people that are asking me about our beers and for our beers are going to be able to get them sooner rather than later. I mean, it's going to take a little bit of time to develop our relationship and understand our direction exactly. But over the next month or so, we should be in multiple states. And with the reaction we get from the people that come here to Concord or up to Bristol, Virginia, and try our beers and want our beers, that's very gratifying. That I know really soon they're going to be able to take care of that thirst they have for our beers, and I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I am too. And I'll tell you, the next slide also, it talks about not only is the brand growing from a retail and distribution standpoint, but, we're going to be growing our family of tap rooms as well. And, with our partnership, with Ken McAllister and Jenna Henderson and the team at Elevatus, we announced, I guess, about 8 weeks ago, that, our plan with them is to, develop and roll out 100 Michael Waltrip tap rooms across the country in 5 years. And so, as I always like to say, just like Michael Waltrip, they're moving fast, but there's a real plan in place to, develop these, fantastic entertainment venues, really, with food and tremendous beer and music and sports, and bring, roll those out across the country. And so many locations are under consideration right now. It's exciting. I feel like a little bit like a kid at Christmas. I want to start opening all these presents at once. Obviously, it'll take a little time to get all these new locations up and kind of moving through the process to where they can open up. But just looking out on the horizon, how can you not be excited about what we're going to be doing on the tap room side of things?
I mean, they're great. I mean, we got pool tables here, we got dartboards, we got games and TVs. It's just a great destination. Come watch a football game, a NASCAR race, whatever your favorite sporting event is. Very open, very, very light. Just a place where screams at you when you come in the front door. It almost feels like, cheers. Everybody's like, Norm. And that makes me very happy to see smiling faces. And I'm down here once or twice a month, just coming to check in and see how everybody's doing. And I get a lot of smiles and a lot of people that are enjoying this venue. When we bought the tap room and Ken renovated it, obviously there were a lot of regulars that came here before it was ours, and he wanted to embrace every one of them and bring, hopefully keep the core staff in line and have the customer base continue to come here to have their beers after work. And I think we've done a nice job of that. And it's very welcoming, very very open. And like I said, I like to look around because it just makes my eyeballs happy. Got TVs and nice bar. Really, really a fun atmosphere. So this is number one of, as you said, a bunch, and this is the template for what we want the rest of them to look like. And you can see the livery up on the walls there, the nice blue and yellow that ties nicely into our cans, and we have merchandise. We have 6-packs to go here. Along with the great food and a lot of fun T-shirts and hats that can be purchased here as well. So I'm proud of this place, and I'm proud of our partnership with Ken and Jenna and the folks that are pushing us forward even faster than we thought possible at first.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And this next slide, is also some big news for us as well. And we've talked a lot about how Michael Waltrip Brewing is really poised for growth. Our vision about how to grow the business, your vision about the quality of the beer and the tap rooms and the quality of the food, and just really connecting with people. And I say this a lot, Michael, too. So I'll tell you right now, I share this with everybody that I can, is that you said about we're in the smiles business, and we're here to make people smile, and that's with great beer and with great food and a lot of fun and our love of racing, our love of car culture and beer and friends and family and music and all the good things in life. And so, I think, we're in unbelievable shape to really, start to grow the company to fulfill the vision that we have. And this next item is, this is another big piece of news for us, is that, we are highly likely to be opening the company up to some outside investment, and through, the Start Engine platform. We're going to, allow fans of Michael Waltrip Brewing to come along for the ride with us. And folks that want to learn more can go on our website at michaelwaltripbrewing.com, and we'll keep them up to date, as we're thinking about doing this. But I was talking to somebody today, Michael, and I think you agree with me on this, is that you see a lot of celebrity brands, whether it was George Clooney's success, with tequila, or Conor McGregor's success with, his whiskey and so forth. But, the fans, the tribe that, were fans of theirs, didn't really participate in all of that. And I think, our philosophy is that, we want people that love what we're doing, come along for the ride and be a part of this, be business partners with us, and help us build this company and fulfill our vision.
Yeah, we're investors in it. We put our money into it to get it started, and I have friends and folks that I don't know that also have helped us get up and running. And now we're opening our doors to race fans and folks that think this looks like a pretty fun ride, and love to have more partners involved in what we're doing and see this thing grow and reach its full potential one day. And I hope that one day, 20 years from now, I want to keep growing every day. And I want to be good partners with our investors, folks that want to be a part of the ride and, have some parties, drink beer together, smile and laugh about what we're doing. So I'm excited that we're opening up our doors to having potential new folks, new investors become a part of the company. And I have a couple of good buddies that, wrote a check because they believed in the beer and they believed in what we're doing. And, it's taken a lot of money to get where we are. I talked about 4 years, we've had a lot of work and a lot of investment in our brand over these 4 years. And it's just to the point now where I think we can really push the gas down and take it to another level. And that's exactly what we want to do. We want to market more. We want to promote ourselves more. And we want to distribute more. We want to get our beers in people's hands all over this country. And obviously, it's a lot of work. And it takes money to make things grow. And I think that the investment in the company will be a good investment, but I also think it'll be a fun investment. It'll be something you'll be saying, wow, I'm a part of something really cool.
Well, I can tell you, I've had the privilege of being Michael Waltrip's partner now for a few years. And anybody's thinking about it, I can tell you it's a lot of fun. And that is at the bottom line. Look, we work really hard and Michael works really hard in the business. This isn't something you've just lent your name to. We all work really hard to help build the company. And at the end of the day, we're having success, but we're also having fun. And if you can't do both of those things, then we really shouldn't be here. And we've been able to do that. And that's a non-negotiable, I think, going forward. I think you'd agree with us. We're always going to have fun and we're always going to work hard and have some really great beer along the way. So anyway, anybody's thinking about that, please check us out online at on our website and we'll send you some more information. But to close out this section of the show, I thought this is a great line that you had, that we're making beer with great ingredients and craftsmanship. But the most important thing is these are the beers that you love to drink.
And I'm drinking one right now and enjoying having some folks here at the tap room in Concord, enjoying their beers with us as well. So thanks for your time, Bryan. It's been fun to talk NASCAR and talk beer and things that I love. And we got to get together and do this again. This is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as we close that section of the show, I am excited to welcome our special guest tonight, Michael. Aaron Gore is joining us. Aaron is a beverage industry analyst, a national writer for Porch Drinking and the South Carolina Brewers Guild. He's an expert on beer branding and sales. He's worked with a number of breweries early in his career, now works with a whole slew of breweries. Presently, he is heading up business development for our newest partner, Bevana Partners. So let's welcome Aaron Gore to Beer Goggles.
Hey, thank you so much, Bryan. Appreciate you guys having me on. And Michael, I think you might have missed the memo. I thought we were all going to be shaving our heads ahead of this.
Oh no, I've got a nice head of hair.
Well, thanks a lot, Aaron, for being here. I guess to kind of get into this, why don't you talk a little bit like how did you get started in the beer industry? What got you going?
Yeah, so I actually used to work in tech when I first got out of school and doing the IT thing, working in an office, and wound up being subject to a series of layoffs, and spoke to my girlfriend at the time, and she had a profound idea. She said, well, what do you like doing? And I said, well, I like beer. And she said, well, why don't you do that for a job? And I had never even thought of that before, so it was absolutely brilliant. Stopped me in my tracks. So that was really my first foray into beer. I got my first job in the industry on Craigslist of all places, which is dating myself a bit. But from there, I was managing the Northeast for a brewery out of Chicago and managed sales and marketing. Kept doing that for a few years, moved down south, and just kind of kept on that track before falling in with Andrew Derstowitz, who's the CEO and co-founder of Bevana Partners. And from there, we, alongside a whole lot of other talented people, helped build the model that became what we do today.
Well, that's my next question. So, I've been telling people, and of course, we put out the press release that we now partner with Bevana, and I was telling people how excited we are about Bevana. The first question is, what does Bevana do? So, I have a good version of it, but I can't have a better version than yours. So I'm going to let.
No, that's excellent. We get that a lot. We're a little bit intentionally vague, and it's mostly because we're the only people in the industry doing what we do. But what we do and what we take pride in is working with small beverage makers, mostly breweries from across the world, and we help them reach markets and we help them reach customers that otherwise they wouldn't be able to access, or at least wouldn't be able to access without becoming distracted from the things that really make an impact on the customers. Things like being able to create new innovative products, things like being able to just keep that quality as high as it can be, create a great tap room experience, and really be able to just connect with their customers and their communities. So what we effectively do is we manage everything downstream of that. We help them scale up their production by connecting them with some of the top manufacturers from across the world. We also connect them with wholesalers who help to transport the beer and actually get it into stores and help manage the regulatory environment across the U.S. that makes this industry so hard to work in sometimes. We even help sell the beer and actually get it out into the stores, and most importantly, get it over the lips and through the gums for customers so they can actually taste it and experience it, and hopefully find their new favorite beer to, enjoy and try and take home with them. We manage all of that so that we can let the makers themselves, people like yourself, Bryan, people like yourself, Michael, get back to doing what you guys got into this to do, which is making amazing beer, which is connecting with incredible people and really creating something that's unique and a real lifestyle experience, something that really speaks to people and makes a difference in their lives.
Well, we couldn't be more excited to have this partnership, Aaron, with you and with the whole team at Bevana. And I think, we're going to do a lot of great things together. So we are certainly fired up about that. But I can't help but ask you, because of your background, truly an expert in the beer industry and probably the biggest story of note recently in the beer industry is, what's happened with the Bud Light brand. And now I don't want to get into, the political stuff and all of that, but what I am curious about is there's obviously been an impact to distribution and to retail. Could you talk a little bit about what you've seen as you look out into the industry, what's going on at retail, what's going on at distribution, and what's the fallout from all this?
Yeah, we're in a really unique time in the beer industry right now. It's no secret that Anheuser-Busch InBev, that's the parent company that owns Budweiser, based out of Belgium, has been embroiled in a lot of controversy lately. And, obviously for them, that's bad. That's been double-digit declines pretty much across the board. But what it does mean is that there's a huge opportunity for people to be able to switch on to brands that speak to them a little more directly and who have a little bit higher quality and a little more interesting beer, frankly, than what Budweiser's been putting out for years. So for people like ourselves, what we see is this is an opportunity to speak to customers who otherwise the craft beer industry has not done a great job of speaking to in the past. People like NASCAR fans, people like country music fans are some of the biggest beer drinkers and some of the biggest beer fans you're going to find anywhere because they really respect what beer is truly about at its core. It's not about exploring crazy flavors. It's not about spending $20 on a 4-pack. What it really is about is coming together over a pint of fantastic beer with people who have shared interests, with people who you enjoy being around and just having a fantastic time. So if we're able to help people like yourselves and Michael Waltrip, expose people to an opportunity to beer that they're going to love better than Bud Light, better than anything they've had in the past, that's something that we're excited about.
You're off, Bryan.
Hey, yeah, thank you. So yeah, Aaron, absolutely. And, as I was looking at your background, of course, we've gotten to know each other, here recently as our partnership has taken off. You're a Cicerone. So the first thing people want to know is what is a Cicerone? How difficult is it to be a Cicerone? And then I want to ask you about beer after that.
Yeah, so what being a Cicerone actually means is that I need a better hobby and probably a new liver. But really what a Cicerone is, the Cicerone program was created as a certification program for people who work in the beer industry to be able to demonstrate their knowledge, demonstrate their expertise, demonstrate their background. So effectively, what way I like to think of it now, and not just because he's sitting here with us, is I am to beer what Michael Waltrip is to racing. I know a little bit about it. I do a little bit with it, and I'm really good at being able to BS about it on top of that. But no, it's a wonderful program. It focuses not just on knowledge of the beer itself, not just on service and not just the production of it, but on being able to connect people with the beer, being able to teach people about the beer and hopefully help them find whatever is the right beer, the right style, and the right experience for them. It's something I've had a lot of fun with. There's only a couple thousand of us in the world. And hopefully here soon, I'll get some news on my advanced Cicerone, which that would put me in the top 165 or so beer experts on Earth. Got a feeling I might have to retake a portion of that one, but I'm looking forward to it regardless.
Well, I guess then the next question for you is there such a thing as bad beer?
Well, all beer is better than water, so it's a good start, but there's definitely better beer, I guess would be the better way of putting it. And that's the thing about beer is, you know, some of the larger companies are able to make incredibly consistent beer, and that's fantastic. That's a wonderful thing. But, you know, being able to have a deeper connection to the beer, not having to make 8 trillion gallons of the stuff. You don't have to be the McDonald's of beer. No one's asking you to be the gourmet hamburger of beer, but being able to make something that's consistent, that's high quality, that just tastes a little better without necessarily needing you to sit down and, you know, sniff your glass and you know, contemplate your navel when it comes to what you're drinking. Better beers out there, and it doesn't have to become an obsession, but, you know, the goal of beer is to enhance any experience that it's a part of. So if we're able to bring some better beer to the table and expose people to something that's not going to take away from just sitting around and, you know, shooting the shit with your friends and, you know, I don't know, playing cornhole or pool or darts at a place like the Michael Waltrip Taproom, but instead is able to make that experience that much more meaningful, that much more impactful, and make it that much better. And I think that's something that's worth pursuing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, one of the great things about, you know, what you do now, Aaron, with Bevana is that you get to work with so many different brands, as well as, you know, you look out over the landscape nationally, internationally, you know, what's happening with brands, where are their opportunities and so forth. And I know when we first started talking about the possibility of being partners, you know, you were excited about Michael Waltrip Brewing and kind of the, you know, the audience that we speak to. And, you know, talk a little bit about, you know, about your enthusiasm for Michael Waltrip Brewing and kind of how do we fit in that landscape of other beer brands that are out there nationally.
Well, I think one of the most beautiful things about beer in general is that beer really is the universal language. It's been around almost as long as people have been around. There's even some theories that that's why we started growing crops and domesticating grains in the first place, was to make beer. And I like to think that people thousands of years ago were doing the exact same thing that you and I and Michael are doing tonight, is sitting around over a pint and, you know, having some conversation about the things that matter to them, and hopefully having some pointless arguments that no one's dumb enough to go on Wikipedia and answer in 5 seconds. You know, that's what beer is about. And the beautiful thing about that is there's no such thing as a craft beer drinker. Craft beer drinker is everyone. It's in all cultures. It's across the world. And that's one of the things I love about Michael Waltrip is, you know, for a long time, you know, we've had kind of an image in our head of what craft beer is. And Michael, I think you did a wonderful job of summarizing some of your own experience of, you're not necessarily chasing this big hot bomb triple IPA with rye and, you know, smoked malt. That's not necessarily what you're in for. But it doesn't mean that craft beer, and it doesn't mean that enjoying a beer with friends is not for you. Quite the opposite. That's why you started Michael Waltrip Brewing. It's about being able to reach customers that the craft beer industry has not necessarily done a good job speaking to, but that doesn't mean that there's still not people that we should be speaking to. And that's definitely one of the things that I think this company and the beer that you guys are producing, things like Bristol Sunshine, does so well, is in creating those experiences and creating those opportunities and making something that is not only high quality, but extremely enjoyable, which is also why I wound up finishing my previous glass. So I'm about 40 ounces into this, so bear with me, guys.
Hey, look, we love to hear that. That is awesome. Well, you know, one other thing I wanted to ask you about too, Aaron, and this kind of brings it all together is, you know, when we first met, you started talking about this idea of beer math and about how, you know, there's a relationship between tap rooms and retail, and it's almost like an ecosystem. One hand, you know, washes the other, one hand supports the other. And talk a little bit about, you know, as you look out, especially with, you know, what we just shared about our business plan, you know, how does this all this jigsaw puzzle kind of work to just drive Michael Waltrip Brewing, the brand?
Yeah, completely. I mean, beer is really more than just an experience. It's about a lifestyle, especially something like Michael Waltrip Brewing. I mean, Michael, you're someone who acts as a voice for a lot of people and someone who brings together a lot of the interests, whether that's car culture, whether that's country music, whether that's sports. It's places like Michael Waltrip Brewing act as a nexus point, but moreover, they really act as the glue that brings people together. So having tap rooms, having places where people can physically come together and discover the beer creates the opportunities for them not only to try it in the first place, but to build that connection to it and take that home with them. Same goes when people are actually out in the market and buying at the local grocery store. Gives them the opportunity to actually pick up that beer, take it home with them, and then seek it out of the source. Seek something that's going to give them more than just sitting around on their couch watching NASCAR. They can go out to a place where they can live NASCAR. That's the kind of mutualism that you really get out of the tap room and the marketplace, and giving people the opportunity to integrate Michael Waltrip Brewing, integrate these beers, integrating craft beer into their lives in a way that goes above and beyond just a drink. It's more than that, and it's supposed to be more than that. It's about community, and it's about experience.
Well, thank you, Aaron. I know we're getting close to our allotted time for tonight. We really appreciate you being here. We're excited to be working with Bevana. I know we've got some big announcements in the works, so I'm going to tease that too. We've got some more things coming, so we'd love to have you back on a future episode to talk about some of the things that we're developing together, which I can't wait to share with the audience. But as we start to close the show, Michael, we've gotten a question from the audience that I want to throw to you. Because I think this is just a great way to end tonight's episode. The question is, what is the best part of owning Michael Waltrip Brewing?
Getting a pink polo like I've secured to wear this evening and I want to get you one, Aaron. Don't you worry. I can tell you're just over there thinking I need one of those Michael Waltrip Brewing shirts right now. But the best part for me is just seeing someone, and I've said this a few times, seeing someone I don't know walking out of the grocery store with a 6-pack of my beer. I'm like, they had hundreds of opportunities, choices to buy a beer, and they're like, that's the one I want. That is one of those proud dad moments when you just say, you know, that's what it's all about right there. Also love coming to the brewery up in Bristol or here at Taproom in Concord and seeing folks drinking our beer and you know, choosing to spend their hard-earned money with us. And you can take all the fun, you know, beer drinking stories, all the things that, you know, you think make you happy. But until you see someone walking out of the store with your beer that you don't know who they are, they just made that decision. To me, that's the best part of the whole thing. And then just the ambience. You know, my job on TV is to inform and entertain, and I feel like that we do that at Michael Waltrip Brewing. We've got a beer, we've got quality beer, and then we want you to enjoy that, and we want to entertain you too, or have a place where you can entertain you and your friends as well. So enjoy and entertain, and just seeing people smiling when they got our beer.
Well, I think you just nailed it. That's exactly right. That's I mean, I love that about what we're doing, and it gets me excited every single day. Well, cheers. Cheers, absolutely. Here, let me get the appropriate beer here. But as the hour draws to a close, I want to thank everybody that joined us here at Michael Waltrip Brewing Tap Room in Concord. Thank you for our live audience. Thank you for everybody that joined us online on the Zoom platform. We really appreciate it. Thanks for sending your question in as well. For those of you that would like to see this broadcast again, we will be posting this on our YouTube channel, so you can go and see it in its entirety or recommend it to friends if you so desire. And please follow us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and to stay up with all the latest on Michael Waltrip Brewing and what we're up to. And gosh, come by and see us either in Bristol or here in Concord. We'd love to have a beer with you. So thank you, and good signing off. Michael, any closing words?
See you at the brewery.
All righty. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for joining us tonight on this episode of Beer Goggles.